All right, and we have a pretty cool topic for you today. Today, we're going to discuss what's in a name, and that refers to your company or your business name. Naming your business is arguably one of the most important aspects in starting your business. So your business name is something that your customers are going to use a lot. It's also a primary carrier for word of mouth referrals, and a good business name is going to resonate with the right audience or your target audience. The Denver Data Web, we work with businesses of all types, and particularly when we work with new businesses, strategizing with our client's business name comes up in our day-to-day more regularly than you think. So we're going to jump into some key points here. Additionally, if you have any questions, please feel free to chime in the comments or the chat. All right, let's get into the first one here. This one pretty much goes without say, but we're going to sound off about it either way because it's a really good starting point. A name that encompasses your brand. David, did you want to start us off on that one?
Well, the name is a big piece of the brand. I think some folks might think about that sort of thing in very small terms, like, hey, logo, name, and that's brand, and that's all right. Your name is a big piece of that. And it's gonna be like the entry point into the story of what your company is about too. It's gonna fit into maybe even like your logo and stuff. It may fit into what your services are and how you want to make people wear that right away. It's gonna fit into a lot of things actually.
Yeah.
So I mean, thinking about that in a very meaningful way and how what that's gonna be, that matters a lot.
Absolutely. Tom, did you have anything to say about how the business name?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really important to your brand, and your business name could either be a vehicle to your goals or an obstacle in the way of getting to those goals. And so it really, thinking carefully about how you use your name is really important to the success of your organization.
Yeah, and one thing that we talk about a lot at Denver Data Web is the company culture, and and your business name should encompass that in some way. So that plays in a lot as well. Did either of you have anything to say about that, or should we move on?
I was going to toss in a couple just quick examples, and to contrast something like Anger Digital versus Caring Digital as two different names. The connotation that's carried away is very different.
Yeah. And unless you're trying to convey that angry aspect, it's pretty obvious.
Right, which it probably has a market. It's probably not a huge one, but rock bands and stuff.
Yeah, true.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move on to the next one. A name that does not pigeonhole your brand. And you may think Denver Data Web, you had the name Denver in your name. You are pigeonholing yourself to one location. But also we do a lot of business in the Denver area. So that is a big part of our brand, at least at the moment. Additionally, actually, I'm going to wait on that. David, did you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, and it's really, what does it do to fit your needs? Like it may be that you want to pigeonhole yourself because when we say pigeonhole, we mean maybe you want to be confined to a smaller audience. Maybe you want to target a smaller audience. Maybe you want to focus on a local audience because that might be what you're well suited to. Niching down is like a business strategy where you focus on a smaller net addressable audience that you can help, so that you can better align what you're able to do specifically to those people's needs. I mean, a different strategy might be, we help everybody everywhere. And, if you have the capability to do that, that'd be great because the net addressable audience then is huge and a lot of opportunity, right? But having that well tailored to what you're capable of doing well means that you can serve your customers well, and then you focus on the audience that needs precisely that. Means they're going to hopefully be able to see how you can help them. And then your name as part of your brand can be an excellent vehicle for kickstarting that conversation, that connection to those audience, right? So, if you primarily serve people in a particular region, having that region in your name makes it pretty obvious to those folks, like, hey, I'm looking for somebody local and it looks like they serve people in our area. Maybe I should talk to them. So I think that's definitely a big consideration.
Exactly. And to be fair, we do work nationally within the United States, but the core of our work is within the Denver area.
Well, I was going to add to to that statement along the same lines as your point is that as a company grows, it's not uncommon that happens, that the name you picked initially doesn't necessarily serve the long-term goals you found out you had. And expansion is one of those, where you could very well niche in a locality, but find out 23 years later that you were more appropriate for an international community. So,
Very true.
And so it pays to think about your brand, your naming early on so that it serves you well over the lifetime of your company. But often that doesn't happen and you don't necessarily know the future. So sometimes you do have to change regardless.
Sarah, I got one for you here with naming and brand and business objectives. You probably already know about this because everybody, probably should know this, that Sarah is an expert on Google My Business and how to leverage that for digital marketing. And so that's why we do a lot of that for our customers in digital marketing. But I read an interesting piece talking about how many businesses in the last few years have been taking advantage of how Google My Business works and actually rebranding their company and the name of their firms to optimize how they show up in Google My Business based on the keywords and the structure in the naming, that from a ranking standpoint. So like some of these law firms, whatever, there's like, we're a Colorado injury law firm, that's how people are searching for it. And they sit on top of the Google My Business rankings and the local packs and stuff like that. That name for their company sounds kind of cheesy. It's not very clever, like Backus and Schenker, or, we're the strong arm, all these guys that you're about in Colorado. Colorado injury law firm sounds rather bland, and yet they're killing it from a digital marketing standpoint. That's a really interesting strategy.
Well, what it does,
pigeonholing by making it seem like they only work with one, unless they do only work with one type of.
Well, and I think to the extent that is really what they do, nailing down a name that is the exact keywords that somebody might enter when they're searching really aligns you well with what they're thinking, even if you don't really do what they're imagining. People will make that presumption if you come back if your name is the search terms they just use, they're automatically going to think you're the best at that, or at the very least extremely well versed.
Exactly. And in the past, and I've mentioned this on previous chats, I've worked with in the natural foods industry. And Tom, what you were saying, like sometimes the company grows and needs to change. I've worked with companies, they offer one product and one product only. So the name of the company is that product. And when you do want to expand, sometimes it goes above and beyond what that product offers. So that comes into play a lot too, but you won't necessarily know that. When you're starting a company, you do tend to think small. So rebranding does happen, and it's these same key points go into rebranding as well. Hi, this is Sarah from Denver Data Web. Thanks for watching. Please like our video and subscribe for future digital strategy chats. You can also visit our website at denverdata.com or find us on social media at Denver Data Web.